What's going on, UT? Today is day 121 of the rest of my life. As you guys know already, 121 days ago, I quit my corporate job to pursue my passion of starting our successful clothing brand Mule and to show you that when you align your passions with your purpose, everything and anything is possible. Today on day 121, we are starting our streaming debut. And I'm so excited to show you guys my stream personality, I guess. I'm just excited. I want to be able to express myself in a way that doesn't require me cutting up the videos and spending hundreds and hundreds and thousands of hours in Premiere Pro or on CapCut, you feel me? And I want to be able to show you guys who I really am and what I really stand for, and you guys can really see me for me and see if I know what I'm talking about. You feel me? I'm not gonna curse too much. I'm gonna still keep it like fairly clean because I want the message to come across clear, and I don't want it to be mixed in or be cut off by YouTube. So today we're gonna be reacting to my first video that I made in Premiere Pro. This video is called the In the Mind series, and throughout this series I'm basically going to be breaking down entrepreneurs, athletes, streamers, dreamers, artists, actors, and going into their purpose and talking to you guys about what their purpose was and or still is if they're still living. I'm going to do, some artists and athletes who have moved on, and then obviously athletes who are still here with us and we still get to enjoy their greatness and study them and still be able to get more information from them. So today we're going to be reacting to the video that we made in Premiere Pro, and this video is on Kobe Bryant. And in this video you guys are going to see Kobe's purpose, what he stands for, what his morals are, what his values are, his why, and how he used that why to power and fuel his purpose. And throughout this video, I'll be breaking down what that means, and I hope you enjoy. This is my first reaction. I'm going to be doing a lot more on more current events, things from entrepreneurs to clothing brands to a whole bunch of content we're going to be reacting to. So I'm excited to be able to share this like raw, uncut version of myself with you. And I'm hoping to be able to interact with you guys on stream, do some Discord calls where we talk about purpose, do some different things, and actually be able to do one-on-ones live so you guys can see what those purpose one-on-one consultations will actually look like and how it will actually improve your life and how it will actually help you align with your purpose and be more in tune with yourself and what you want to do and the steps that it takes to get there. So let's get into the video. Enough talking. This is my first time working OBS, so bear with me.
I had a purpose. I wanted to be one of the best basketball players to ever play, and anything else that was outside of that lane, I didn't have time for. The love of the game.
And we're not going to react to the whole video because the video is long and we're going to skip around a bit, so stay tuned.
The challenge, like I would watch Magic play, I'd watch Michael play, and I would see them do these unbelievable things, and I'd say, can I get to that level? I don't know, but let's find out. And so that curiosity to see where I could push this thing led me down that path, I think. Basketball for me was the most important thing. So everything I saw, whether it was TV shows, whether it was books I read, people I talked to, everything was done to try to learn how to become a better basketball player. Everything. And so when you have that point of view, then literally the world becomes your library to help you to become better at your craft.
If you're watching this video, all right, before I get into my own intro, let's really unpack what that intro means and the things that Kobe was saying. So we're not going to go back through it too much, but there's a lot here, and that is the reason why it's the intro. You want to make sure in the intro, I'm not a YouTube expert, but this is the reasoning. I'm not going to say what you should do, what you shouldn't do. I'm just going to give you my reasoning why I put these specific clips in the beginning to capture your attention and to let you know what the video is about. The first clip, Kobe says his purpose. He wants to be the greatest basketball player in the world. Why, though? And that is the reason for this series. I don't want to just take the surface level answer for what it is. Okay, Kobe says his purpose is to be the best basketball player. and we just accept that. I want to know why. I want to know his experiences that formed that purpose and how he got to where he wanted to be and how he took steps to achieve that purpose. The question is, and I want you to think about this as we're watching this video and as I'm reacting, will we ever achieve purpose? Is achieving purpose achievable, or is purpose achievable, and why or why not? And I want you to drop that in the comments if you think purpose can be achieved or it is something that we continue to chase until we accept. Let me know what you guys think, and we'll talk about that at the end of the video too.
I had a purpose. I wanted to be one of the best basketball players to ever play. And
anything outside of that, I really could break down every single thing. Oh, Michael Jackson, but it kind of speaks for itself. But let me take it bit by bit. This is a very long video, and I don't want it to be overwhelming for you. This first time going through it, and this first time learning how to use the 5Ws framework. So let's just take it. Let's take it slow. Let's do bit by bit. We're only going to focus on the clips that are Kobe speaking. The clips that I'm talking in, I kind of overdid it, and you'll see what I mean. Like, I was forcing it. And now that you see who I really am, you're going to see that I was kind of forcing it because it was my first time using a YouTube script and writing a script and then reciting it to the camera. And that is a beast in itself, because when you're cutting that up, it gets hectic because now you're looking back and forth. The point is, now we get to get that live reaction. We're not going to focus on my clips. We're going to focus on Kobe. So let's break this down piece by piece. So we know Kobe wants to be the best basketball player, and
do these unbelievable things.
How did he get to that point? Or what was his why? And you'll see later in the video his why. And he talks about his father and the experience that he had when he was growing up playing basketball. But in these first couple of clips, I'm giving you a brief intro into each of the 5Ws. So we have his purpose up here, right? Kobe wants to be the best basketball player in the world. Then we have his why, his love for the game. In interviews and clips, he's talking about how he loves the sound of the court, the cheer of the fans, the smell of the basketball, like these very descriptive elements that the game is compiled of, like the feeling of holding the basketball and the sound of the dribbling. And he was using his senses to describe that love for the game that he had. And after we determine that why, and we go deeper into that why, or where that love of basketball formed, we figure that out later in the video. But let me continue.
And I say, can I get to that level?
So can you get to that
level?
I
don't know, but let's find out. And so that
it's the curiosity. So when starting this clothing brand, I have no idea, and I still have no idea how far this will go. I have a vision, and I have an understanding of what I want to accomplish, but who knows what's in store for me with this clothing brand? Who knows what's in store for me for this YouTube journey? Who knows? So that constant curiosity that we all should have on our journeys is what's ultimately going to fuel us to get to where we want to go. Because if we're not curious about the things that we want to do, and we're really not, it doesn't really motivate us, or it doesn't really feel like a hell yeah, I want to do this, I'm curious about this, I want to learn about it, then we really should reevaluate what we're trying to accomplish and go back to the root and see how we can align it in a way with that root to make sure that we stay curious about it and we stay hungry. And that curiosity is what's ultimately going to fuel me to get to where I want to go. It's going to fuel you to get to where you want to go. And it's going to fuel the ultimate pursuit of purpose. So stay curious. That's the ultimate, and that's the reason why this is here right now.
I see to see where I could push this thing led me down that path. I think basketball for me was the most important thing. So everything I saw, whether it was TV shows, whether it was books I read, people I talked to, everything was done to try to learn how to become a better basketball player. Everything. And so when you
crucial. It's a crucial point right here, especially because with how things are in the now and how many distractions there are for us to get consumed with, from social media to all these outside sources that can draw us away from our purpose and draw us away from the things that we want to accomplish, it can be hard to find purpose and also stay on that path and stay curious. But the more we consume ourselves with things that align with our purpose and things that push us forward on that journey, the closer we get and the more we get aligned, the straighter and the more narrow we'll be on that path. It's not important and it's not necessary to be straight and narrow on a path, because you still want to give yourself flexibility to get around those roadblocks and to maneuver around the things that pop up in our life. But you want to make sure that you're reminding yourself to get back on that path. It's okay to get off. It's okay to get distracted. But what's not okay is to stay off and stay off your purpose and continue to go down a path that's not what is for you and it's not what your purpose is. So, for example, let's say my purpose is to start this clothing brand, start this massive brand, this community that we all can come to for information, for resources, for connections, for money, for scholarships, for the things that you and I need to move forward in our lives, to start our businesses, to go to school, to further our education, things like that. So the goal is to build this massive community. I do not know how big the community will get. All I am focused on is staying on the path of growing the community, and how I'm growing that community is by creating content that is not only relatable, but is informative and adds value to your life. So that will make you want to join and add your own value. So I do not know what is going to happen. I cannot predict the future. All I can do is continue to build that community by creating content and creating purposeful apparel and by spreading love and by putting out content that makes you focus on purpose and does not distract you and brings you back to what you are here for. And that's all I can focus on. Now, I say that because I'm getting a little bit lost in my ramble, but the reason why I say that is because, why am I saying that? I think I'm, hold on. Yo, what the fuck am I, hold on. There's a lot going on, because this is how I create the YouTube videos where you guys see me every day just like saying shit. But I'm not just saying shit, it's really making sense. I just have to practice, and that's what this is for. So before, I'm pretty sure I was touching on the point that, we have to surround ourselves with things that are on our path, such as books, such as movies, such as information, such as videos. You shouldn't be anything that's not in a YouTuber that I watch frequently, Vontu Cut. He has these 4 things, right? That if you are doing something else besides focusing on these 4 things, that he says, like more health, more love, more wealth, or more something, right? But the basis is, and why he's saying that is because if you're not doing things that are adding more love to your journey, or more money in your pocket to help you on your journey, or are giving you more love to your journey, or benefiting your health, then you shouldn't be focusing on those things like social media and all this pornography and all this and that. I don't really want to get too deep into that, but basically, distractions are there. They are abundant, and we must refocus. And how we refocus, I could have just said this from the beginning, how we refocus is by consuming things that are aligning with our purpose. Let's move on.
That point of view, then literally the world becomes your library to help you to become better at your craft.
If you're watching this video, then you're most likely already familiar with the accolade. 5-time NBA champion, 2-time NBA Finals.
I said this to, obviously, if you're not familiar with Kobe, which you probably are, then you would get more of a sense of who he is, how much he's accomplished, and then you could kind of formulate this quote-unquote definition of what success meant to him, or how society defines success. And this is an important piece, and it is meant for those who see success in this way to not only capture their attention and draw them in, but to also introduce them to something later down the line where we redefine our own success. So when I'm saying all these things like 5-time NBA champion, who knows if this was really even important to Kobe, and we will see what was really important to him throughout this video. But this is an introduction into like the quote unquote success that I'm going to be constantly doing, because success is what you make it. If you define success as making $1, then that is what success means to you. Well, a billionaire may define success as making $1 billion because that is his definition of success. Kobe may define being the best basketball player in the world as a certain amount of rings or a certain amount of championships, same thing, or a certain amount of accolades. And that is sometimes what, basketball heads and all these analysts define being the greatest of all time is, and success in sport. But we will see that success is defined by yourself. And we will see what Kobe defined his success as throughout this video.
What fueled that pursuit? In this video and throughout this series, we will be going within the mind of the greatest athletes, entrepreneurs, dreamers, musicians, artists, and actors, and diving into the...
And y'all let me know who y'all want to see me do the Within the Mind series. If you have a favorite streamer or a favorite artist or someone that you want to know more about, I will do the research and I will create the video so you can learn about them. But there has to obviously be enough demand. Like, it can't be some random streamer or your neighbor. Like, it can't be some kid you know. Like, it has to be people who are well known. Their information is out there, and we can go deeper into their purpose and into their why. So drop that in the comments, who you guys want to see, your favorite athletes, favorite streamers, favorite artists, favorite musicians, etc., etc.
Of their purpose. And we will be doing that using a foundation and a framework called the 5 W's.
In Italy.
All right, before we get into this, I just want to briefly mention the 5 W's. And if you're still watching right now, you are the GOAT. And you should be still watching, because this is about you. This is about your purpose. This is what's going to take you from lost to found, quote unquote, and it's going to put you on the path of purpose. So the 5 W's starts with why. Obviously, I hope you know what the 5 W's are. If you don't, then let's reevaluate. We have why, and we start with why. Even though in school we learned it was who, what, when, where, why, how, right? We start with why, because why will take you to the root. And I gave this description, and I gave this analogy of the root being branches on a twig. And we know that branches on a tree, or twigs on a tree, not branches on a twig. So we know that trees have trunks, and we have roots, and they have branches, and then they have twigs, right? And twigs are at the very end, and they will hold the leaves up, and they support the leaves, they support the flowers, they support the structure of the tree. But sometimes twigs can seem insignificant to the structure of the tree, and you've like stepped on a twig before. We've all just, it seems like nothing. You pick a twig off a tree, you like snap it, play with it. We've all done that. And it seems insignificant, but it's really important. And eventually those twigs grow into branches, and they grow into those large trunks. And we don't really see that, and we don't really focus on that in the now. But if we really take the time to think about what those twigs came from, then we can learn to change our perception of the significance. I say that to say my points are going to get more clear as time goes along, because obviously this is a work in process, but this is an analogy. And the analogy is that the twigs are the choices, the beliefs, the thoughts, the actions, the behaviors, the emotions that we have, and they're at the end of the tree. And they always come back to the root. Hold on, let me rephrase. So, right, we just introduced this topic. This topic takes time to explain, and I'm trying to get it all out, because I'm like, I don't know who's going to watch this. I don't know how long they're going to be watching this, so I really need to settle down. I'm going to explain it. I'm going to explain it thoroughly. I'm not going to worry about anything else besides explaining this to the best of my ability and getting this point across. So let me restart. This is practice. Let's not get ahead of ourselves, right? This is not going to be an edited video. This is going to be practice. So this is just one raw take. This is my first reaction. And then moving forward, we're going to start, working on reacting better. But this is the start. So the 5 W's, right? It starts with why. And we start with why because why can take you to the root. And when we look at the analogy and when we relate it to the tree, this will make more sense, right? So we have the root. Let's work from let's not start at the root. Let's start at the very end, the twig. And the twigs are our thoughts, our beliefs, our actions, our behaviors, our emotions, all those things that are fleeting and seem insignificant to our being as a whole. Those are the twigs, right? And the root, all the way at the bottom, those and that place is where those choices and beliefs come from, at the end of the tree where the twigs are. And we use why to get from the twigs to the root. And the reason why we do that, and the reason why we want to get to the root, is because that's where we will see and be able to examine those thoughts, those beliefs, those emotions for what they truly are and where they come from. So for example, in this video, let's discuss Kobe, right? We know out here, he says at the beginning of the video, I want to be the greatest, I want to be the greatest basketball player of all time, right? And we know that is his purpose, right? It's somewhere up here, it's floating in the air. Purpose is this like ever-flowing concept, right? It's not even a real thing, it's what we make it. So up here is the purpose, right? It's floating around. I want to be the best basketball player in the world. And that's what he says, right? And now if we use why to go back and examine each step of the process, which this video does, and get to the root, we will see where that began. So up here, he says that, and then we have the why, right? So then we have another twig, right? It says why. And then at that twig, it says, because I love the smell of the court. I love the fans when they cheer. I love the squeak. And he says this in his interviews. I love the roar of the crowd. And then you will say, like, why do you love that? Or like, where does that come from? And then there's a deeper layer there, right? So it can go either way. We're going to let Kobe say it for himself. But in a hypothetical scenario, you could say, well, you can do each one. So why do you love the roar of the crowd? Well, I love the validation. I love the feeling of being validated by being great at something, right? And why do you love the validation of being great at something? Because, you know, that fuels your being. It makes you happy. It makes you excited. Okay, why does that make you excited? Because so forth and so forth. And it goes all the way back to the root, and then you will see the beginning of that experience, or that beginning of where that decision and where that root of being the best basketball player started. So we'll let Kobe tell it for himself. And
when I first moved over there, it was, you know, I didn't speak Italian. I didn't have any friends. I had the game of basketball, and through sport and playing soccer, I was able to make friends and build connections. But it was a lot of time spent alone. When I came back to the States, I wasn't the most athletic kid. You know, I was really scrawny, like really, really skinny, and had like major knee issues because I was growing. So I was the dorky kid with high socks and big old knee pad.
In this first clip,
all right, so this is the formation, right? This is the root. We were just up here. Now we're going to go root up. We went twig down. We're going root back up. So at the root, we see this formation starting to happen. This is what I'm saying, but I'm kind of forcing it. I'm going to give you what I'm saying, but in a more direct and in a less like YouTube professional way. So at this root, we see this formation of the love of sport. And Kobe talks about his experience when he was in Italy. His father moved him and his family there when he was young. And I didn't even know Kobe's dad was an NBA player. So that's kind of like, I was a little ashamed that I didn't know that. But we see at the root that he had this experience where he calls himself this dorky kid. You can see how he was feeling through the words that he is saying. He's like, I'm this dorky kid. I had these big old knee pads. You can see in his face that he's starting to get like kind of tense. And you know when Kobe does that like thing, like when he'd be in his bag, like when he'd be really in that mama mode, you can see that facial expression starts to come out, because you can see that's how he really felt when he was in Italy, and he kind of felt like an outcast. The kids weren't really fucking with him, you feel me? It's like when you go to the park and you try to get picked up, and you just sit there and you keep asking who has next, and they say, oh yeah, him right there, yo, ask him. And he says, yeah, I got 5, bro. Who got next after you? And you go to the next dude and you say, yo, bro, you got next? You're like, I got 5. And you just keep going around, and then he says, yo, ask him right there. And then you like, all right, I got next, right? You yell it out. And then all of a sudden, a nigga come out of nowhere and be like, nah, bro, I was here before you. I was just getting a drink. And now you waiting at the basketball court all day. You didn't get one game in. So Kobe was probably feeling like that. And I know y'all went to the park one time or many times and did not get picked up, depending on how nice you are. I hope you got picked up. But if not, feel me, just keep going. You feel me? Get to the park earlier or get to the gym earlier and call next first. That's the solution. But I say that to say, so that's how Kobe was feeling. Like, his game wasn't where he wasn't Kobe Bryant, the Kobe Bryant that we know. He was a young kid. He was in Italy. He was dorky. He was nerdy, and he didn't have many friends, and he felt alone. And obviously, that disconnect, not obviously, but that disconnect comes from not speaking the language and being a black child and a black boy around Italian boys and girls. So obviously, there's some disconnect between that and that. But we're not going to get too much into that part. We're going to focus on the sport aspect.
Immediately travel back to the formation
We're going to
of
skip
Kobe's
my
watch.
parts and focus on Kobe.
Didn't score once.
Not one. I had a summer where I played basketball when I was like 10 or 11 years old. They called the Sunny Hill League. Where my father played, my uncle played, and they were like all-time greats and
Yeah.
such stuff. And Wilt Chamberlain played in the league. You know, Earl of Pro Monroe played in the league. And here I come playing, and I don't score 1 point the entire summer.
You didn't score once.
Not one.
Were you in the game?
I was in the game
How'd you not score?
because I was terrible.
You got to be able to look at it and deal with it head on.
Not a free throw.
All right. Obviously, we know that Kobe at the time, he probably knew he was ass at ball, but his awareness of him being ass at the time is much greater than it was at the time. Now, in this clip, obviously, rest in peace, Kobe. Like, we can't fully say, let's not speak for Kobe here. This is just a breakdown of my perception. So, in this clip, he has the awareness now that he was ass at ball, right? At the time, he probably thought he was halfway decent, and he didn't really have the understanding of what it meant to be good at basketball. And so, compared to his peers, and when he came back to America and when he played in the league in Philadelphia and he didn't score a single point, then he realized where he was in his game. And knowing where you are in your game or on your pursuit of your purpose is extremely important, because if you don't know where you are and you don't know where you are going, then you will never get to where you're going. Not if you don't know where you're going. You'll figure out where you are going when you know who you are. Because once you know who you are, then you can determine who you need to be. So he knew that
nothing,
he was
not a
ass
lucky
later
shot,
in
not a
life, but at this
breakaway
time-
layup, 0 points. And I remember crying about it and being upset about it. And my father just gave me a hug and said, listen, whether you score 0 or score 60, I'm going to love you no matter what. Now, that is the most important thing that you can say to a child. Because from there, I was like, okay, that gives me all the confidence in the world to fail. But to hell with that, I'm scoring 60.
Not only was
All right, so we skip a whole lot in between Kobe and his formation and that experience that he had, this traumatic experience where he was in Italy, he didn't have friends, and sport gave him that love when he was alone. And it comes up in this video later in the line. I probably should have moved that part back where he talks about how important sport was to him and to his, to his feelings of being alone. And I don't know if you've been to another country, then you probably understand the experience of being that quote unquote outsider. Like, imagine how people who immigrant to America feel when they first come here and they don't speak the language and they're trying to adjust. And until they find that community of people who are like them, they probably feel alienated. They're in a whole new world with new languages, new food, new experiences, new etiquettes. Like, we do things completely different than another country may do things. So if you've been in another country before, then you know what I'm talking about when I say, like, the etiquette is different. Like, you move differently. Every state, every city moves differently. So to adjust to a different country is hard. And then adjusting back to the American way of living, it was probably even more difficult and traumatic for Kobe. So these traumatic experiences all throughout this way. And then he gets to, so we skip a lot because we don't see, what happened in between the Kobe tournament where he scored 0 or the Kobe summer and when he moved back. All we know is he moved back and he had that traumatic experience. But that affected him so much that when he scored 0 points, it affected that confidence, and it affected him because he loved sport so much, and because he didn't perform to what he thought he should perform or what success was, then it kind of threw him off. As you see, he was very upset. But the thing that changed that, and let's go back a little bit to why his level of success and why he was so upset after scoring 0 points. Obviously, the game of basketball has parameters for success. It's a game, and in game there's a way to win and a way to lose. We're not going to get into the psychology of basketball and what it means to win and lose a game, or how do you win and lose a game, but there's ways to determine success. So obviously, scoring points and affecting the stat sheet in a positive way is quote unquote success to some. In my opinion, winning is the ultimate success in the game of basketball and in the game of sport, but who gives a fuck about what I think? But there are some people who would determine points, rebounds, the stats as important to the success of the game. I say that to say, because he didn't live up to that success, then he had some issues and feelings of lack. And also, it was deeper than that. Not only did he feel sad and he had like feelings of failure that he didn't live up to the feelings of, or the parameters of what it means to be successful in the game of basketball. Obviously, in this clip, he talks about, not obviously, in this clip, he talks about his father. So now that introduces something else. And I probably should have started with that, but who gives a fuck? I'm going to just start with it now. So then he has his father, right? And he says that, and him introducing that is for a reason. He says when he went to his father after scoring 0 points for a whole entire summer, he knew he was terrible. His father welcomed him with love, and he gave him that love that he needed. And that is important to the 5 W's, because now it gives us evidence of his why, right? And it gives us evidence to back up the claim that sport gave Kobe the love that he so desired, and he wanted to also get that love from his father, right? I'm sure his father, being a professional basketball player, he didn't have all the time in the world to spend with Kobe, because to be a professional basketball player, you have to dedicate a lot of your time to the game of basketball and improving. So it's like a mix, like we locked in sport, what it all comes down to is love, right? So sport gave love, dad gave love, right? And this is the love basket right here. We're in the love basket, and it's like intertwined. All these different things that give you love are like wrapped in one another. So for this story and for this explanation of the 5 W's, we're going to do Kobe's dad and the love of the game, the love of the sport. And they're interconnected because Kobe's dad was an NBA basketball player. When you're a young child, you look up to your father. You want to be like your dad. You want to go to the NBA. Everyone wants to go to the NBA, but imagine having a dad that was in the NBA and you're like looking up to him. And even in the stories and in the interviews, Kobe's talking about, the whole time I was watching my dad play basketball on TV, I was dribbling and acting like I was playing with him. I was dribbling the ball in between. I was sweating. I was doing a whole workout with my dad as he was playing as a young child. And then when the game was over, I'd go take a shower and go to bed. So obviously Kobe's looking up to his dad and he wants to be like his dad. So when we get to this summer and he doesn't perform in this specific tournament that his dad played in, and his dad's legacy was like on the line, like, oh my God, this is Kobe Bryant's son. He's supposed to come in here and kill, because his dad was this amazing basketball player who was this pro, Earl LaPro Monroe, all these professional basketball players. And probably Kobe's thinking, all right, I'm going to this league. This is the start of my NBA journey. I got to come in here. I got to kill. And then my legacy starts here. And when he gets to that point at the end of the season and his stats say 0 points, like, imagine how that felt. Like, imagine this. Like, let me put it in a different term, right? So let's put it in like business terms. Like, let's say your dad is Elon Musk, right? And you want to be like Elon Musk. Obviously, you look up to your parents. That is your role models. Those are the people who formulate your mind, formulate your beliefs, formulate your life. Like, this is the foundation that they create for you, right? So you look up to him. And so it goes both ways. Like, there's a deeper psychology into it where sometimes you don't want to be like them and you want to go in a different route. That's a whole nother story. But let's say you want to be like him. You want to be like Elon Musk. You want to start your own Tesla, right? And you go to college, you graduate, you start your first business, and you work really hard, right? And you work so hard, and you probably work harder than Elon Musk does, but you don't have the skill set yet. You don't have the information yet. You don't have, not only do you not have the why to fuel you, or maybe you do, but you're not who you need to be. You don't know what you need to be to reach that level of Elon Musk unless he's coaching you. I hope if Elon Musk is your pops, then he's coaching you to be who you need to be to run that successful business and to operate the next Tesla. But let's say like you don't have that, right? But you have this like dream. You want to be just like Pop. Like you want to be just like Daddy Elon, feel me? And then you start your business and then you launch, and then your shit fails. Like you lose money. Like imagine how you would feel as Elon. You would feel like a disappointment. And then the media on top of that, I'm sure there was many reporters and many people that his pops knew that was coming around and watching those games and watching Kobe, and Kobe's dad was like, yeah, my son's up next. Like he's the next pro. You feel me? And then you score 0 points and they're like, So same deal, like on a larger scale though, imagine like the media and all this pressure to be like your pop, and then you fail. Like how would you would feel like shit, right? And that's how Kobe felt. But
playing in a league that his father played in and many other great where he lacked that connection.
Right, so here we go.
Confident to say, okay, it's okay to fail.
This is very important right here, because this is what that when he failed and he felt like shit, and his father met him with that love and embraced him and showed him like, yo, whether you score 0 points, whether you score 60, I'm gonna love you regardless. That just changes a child's like mind, like especially at a young age when you're like very vulnerable. You're learning about yourself. You're learning about the world. You're learning about who you want to be, what you want to do. There's all this pressure. There's all these distractions. At a time like that, it is extremely important. A lot of us don't really get that. I hope you do, but it's not very common to be, met with that. And that's why Kobe took that and used it in his own coaching. He used it in his own ability to lead, and his own ability to parent, and his own ability to, make change in the world and inspire. But when he met him with that love and he met him with that understanding, it completely changed his why. So to put it in more simple terms, his why started off with that lack. I play sport because it gives me the love that I so desire, the love that I probably want from my dad that I'm not getting right now, and the love that I want from the kids in my neighborhood, right? Boom. And that like can get you by for a little bit. And he loved basketball. He knew he loved basketball. His love of basketball came from his dad and was passed along because that was his idol, right? Why do we do anything? Because of, the things that we see. And then moving forward, when he realized that, okay, I want to be the greatest basketball player in the world, he didn't make that deal yet. And we'll see when he made that deal. When he was 13, he determined and he set a clear intention of what he was going to do. And that allowed him to get there quicker. But at this time, his why is coming from lack. And he's playing the game and he's trying to score. And he's like, why? I have this lack of skill. I have this lack of love. I'm not getting what I want. And I'm upset. And then when his dad met him with that love that he so desired from basketball and his pops, and it was like intertwined in this example of basketball and love and, parental father love, then it really gave him that confidence that he needed, the confidence to fail, The confidence to go out and score 60 or 0 points and still go out and train the next day. The confidence to go up to a girl and get rejected and go up to another one right after that. The confidence to go 0 for 5 and still shoot the next shot, still shoot that 6th shot because you're unafraid to fail. What do you have to lose? You feel me? What do you have to lose? And that's what his father gave him. And once you are operating from a place of love and not a place of lack or a place of fear, then that's when you can really start to progress on your journey, because then your mindset will be in a place where it needs to be to get to where you need to go.
To say, okay, it's okay to fail because you're going to be loved no matter what. That doesn't just mean basketball. That means anything in life. That means writing. That means being an entrepreneur. That means having the confidence to go for it. I've seen too many parents do the exact opposite, and it terrifies children. And children become paralyzed by their own fear because they don't have that security blanket of love and comfort.
Growing up, they instilled in me the importance of imagination, curiosity, and understanding that, okay, if you want to accomplish something, I'm not just going to sit here and say, yes, you can do whatever you want. Yes, you can, but you have to also put in the work to get there. So they taught me that at a really early age, man. And when you grow up as a kid thinking that the world is your oyster, all things are possible if you put in the work to do it, you grow up having that fundamental belief.
Kobe's parents provided that.
See what I mean? Like, is it starting to make sense? I hope this framework is starting to make sense. If not, it's on me because of my rambling. But as these videos progress, it will start to get more clear. I'm still in the formulation of the framework to make it more direct. That's why the book is not released yet. We have a book called The 5 Ws, which will be coming out in the next couple of weeks. It will give you the directness that you are searching for in your pursuit of purpose. It will give you the exact steps. It'll give you the instructions. It'll give you the basis, the definitions, the formulations, everything you need to understand purpose and to understand how to get to your root of purpose and then how to use that route to get to where you're going. But let's wrap this up because this video is like 40 minutes. I just looked at the OBS. Let me wrap it up and give the summary of what I've been attempting to say this entire time, right? So in this video, we talked about Kobe's purpose. We talked about his why of that purpose. And then after after we moved why to the top, but after the why is who. And then we introduced who he had to become to achieve that purpose. And then we introduced what he had to do. So we know his purpose is, we know later in life that he determined at 13 years old that he wanted to be the greatest basketball player in the world. And he made that deal with himself. Throughout this time where he is still formulating who he is as a person, who he is as a basketball player, and determining what he wanted to do, that was unclear. And obviously, he wasn't at the level that he wanted to be at because he was upset when he scored 0 points. And I would be too. And I've been through countless basketball seasons. I didn't score my first college bucket until my junior year of playing basketball. I got some garbage time here and there, but like during garbage time, you're supposed to get your buckets. You're supposed to go in there. You're supposed to get 6 points. That's what You're either going to be up 20 or you're going to be down 20. And when your coach puts you in garbage time, and when my coach put me in garbage time, I was out there bullshitting. I was out there, just playing defense, turning the ball over, shooting air balls, and missing layups, getting the ball stolen from me. Like I was straight garbage. You feel me? But I let it affect me. You know what? But I kept going. I showed up again to practice the next day. When I went in there, fuck it, we ball. But I knew I wasn't where I wanted to be. And I knew deep down that to be great at basketball and to really have a positive impact on the game from a player standpoint wasn't my purpose and it wasn't how I was going to make an impact. But I didn't have the awareness. I didn't have the upfront, in my face awareness that basketball wasn't for me. I didn't want to work hard on it because I didn't really love it. And the reason why, we'll get into that throughout, my streaming debuts and throughout all these streams where we're talking about purpose, we're talking about passion, we're talking about my why, your why, etc. And, it's complex, but throughout this video, I be getting lost because I just if I had a chat, it would be easier because I'd be like, where are we at, Where did I just leave at? But you guys get what I'm saying. the why of Kobe's purpose was not clear until he determined that purpose for himself. Until that love and just like carelessness and just free-spirited love for the game, it wasn't defined until he made that deal, and that is evident in his unsuccess. Because if it was defined, he would, I would hope, and what I hope for us is that once we define, then we take steps towards that purpose. And it is clear that he had the awareness that he needed to be a completely different player and he needed to improve throughout the video, because then he goes into who he needed to be and what he needed to do. So it's clear that in the beginning, because it wasn't defined, and because when he was 11 years old and he was in Italy and he was just hooping to hoop, like he was a young kid, he didn't know what the fuck he wanted to be. It's clear because he wasn't succeeding. Then at 13, after he had that summer, his dad gave him that confidence. His family gave him the ability to create and to operate from a place of love and not from a place of fear. And that changed his perspective. He had that love behind him. He had that, he had that support behind him. He had just somebody holding your back up, like someone spotting you on the bench press. You're not scared that the bar is going to drop on you. I hope your spotter is strong enough that they don't, fold on you under pressure. They don't crush your chest, but it's like having a spotter, and you just like, you can go to failure and you can go way past your limit because you're not going to get hurt, and you're not going to crush your windpipe and put a hole in your chest, because you have that support, you have that spotter. And Kobe's mom and dad, they spotted him once he determined that he wanted to go and be the greatest basketball player of all time. They gave him that love. They gave him that support. They gave him, they put him on the teams. They took him to the tournaments. They did all that. All the things that your parents did for you when you were ass at basketball and you wanted to get better, or any sport, that's what they did for him. And even more, like, they changed his mindset, right? So now we know that. We know his purpose. We know he defined it. We know why. Originally lack, now love, from Pop, who was an NBA player. Let's look at the triangle. Pop, trauma, me. This is who he's looking up to, Pop. This is the experience that gave him the love of sport, Italy. Now in the middle, we have all these like dots in between, right? But Pop is even below that. Whoa, Pop and love is below that. Then we have the traumatic experience, right? The root is really his Pop being an NBA player. And then we have him growing up looking up to his Pop and practicing alongside him and probably being on the NBA floor and being in all these gyms and wanting to be just like Pop, you feel me? And then we have the traumatic experience when he was in Italy. Okay. Boom, that's on top of that's another root. We have many roots, The more we grow, the more we mature, the more roots we have, the more traumatic experience we have, the more that affects our purpose. So we have Pop, we have traumatic experience in Italy. From our understanding, there's probably a dozen more that we never heard of, and a dozen more stories where Kobe probably got like beat up at the court or some shit, or he had to rumble with an Italian bull, like, and he had to fight back. Like, there's some